Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Okay. No, next week. Good morning, Bob. Uh-huh. We're supposed to have lunch today with my buddies, and we are doing the classic. What? The what? What do we do? What? Who? What? such a classic maneuver. Uh, the guys, Troy and Alex, and yeah, but they're all confused because James Aliens quote last night? Oh. Facebook took offense to you quoting aliens? That sounds weird.
Was it the nuke, just the site from orbit? Because it may have just been looking at nukes.
Yeah, maybe.
Hi, Bob. Oh, I'm helping.
You are helping. There we go. Yeah. Somebody always gets that one too, and I won't name any names, but it's George. He always comes over here and like snags it. Yeah. Yep. Bob says hi. I don't know. I don't know if you were ever with us at the time of Die. I don't remember. I feel like you joined us at Indicate 5. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was never part of that. I don't
Right? So I don't think you and Bob have ever like directly met. All right. Well, now I've got to check the 10th. See if I'm open on the 10th. Because what they're talking about now is meeting on the 10th, which, okay. Okay, I can't keep straight. No, I'm open then too. Ooh, curriculum meeting. Oh, righty. What do I know? Oh, righty. There we go. They apparently removed it because it promoted violence. We were, of course, talking about giant spiders, so I could see that. Bob, you should know better than to promote violence against giant spiders. Think about all those huntsmen in Australia who are sad and offended now. Right? The ASPCS. Seems like that just sounds like somebody who's a butt going on PCS to me. I don't know. There's some service joke. Which nobody will get unless you're service people. Service people will get that joke. That's all right. That's all right. All right. I've been working on my drawing all the living day. We could, but if we keep making jokes about the image, all you're going to do is get banned from Facebook. So might as well just keep making jokes about the image. I mean, really, that just... I'm like... That's probably true. Facebook is terrible, necessary evil, and all. Yeah, well, as Penny Arcade said, I work here. Why are you here?
I started early yesterday, so I must have
Yep. No, I mean, I still love that line. It was like somebody was all up in Penny Arcade's face for being on Twitter and not abandoning Twitter whenever that was the thing we were supposed to do. And their response was, I work here. What are you doing here? Because like, and I was like, yeah, there was exactly. I think the funniest part about that one is that it's kind of true. You never think about how, us cartoonists and artists and stuff like that. I find Billy's hangups disconcerting too. I find the whole Billy thing pretty disconcerting all the way around. I love that we have Billy though. This is cracking me up. I think the best part about this is Facebook has no clue what we're talking about. But we're being actually much darker and much worse than nuking the site from orbit. Just adding a gutter here so that people's minds can be in it. I had a chuckle out of the wife. That's good. That's a plus. Making her laugh. This is a good thing for me. Yep. Making her laugh. Not, the more intimate moments is probably better in the general sense. Oh, God. General sense. Right? Exactly. That's only because they haven't figured out how to track our verbiage very well yet, because the auto closed captioning is not quite as solid as they'd like it to be. James says, took that day off from work, so I'm pretty flexible. And I'm struggling not to reply, you are neither pretty nor flexible. I just want to really badly. So, no, I'm thinking it very loudly. It's like a your mom joke. Yep. I think the saddest part is the more I read about the natural nature of people the more I feel that it's super sad that we respond this way. You know, like, the more I realize that most people are acting out of fear or acting out of some totally logical response, and we continue to make that a thing where we respond in kind with sort of a holy response to these things where people are evil and mean and are terrible, and in reality it's just people are afraid. People are just afraid. I feel guilty whenever I start blaming people for stuff. Maybe guilt is something really good. I don't know. They deleted your first account? Well, if they never told you, legit, I think that was an error. I have noticed a trend with a lot of companies, which is that they feel that they're infallible, and it's not that they intentionally make themselves infallible. Having a situation or a setup where they had to, patch in a big hurry or whatever. I actually think that I have a theory, and that is we don't assume people are bad all the time. So what happens is when you program something, you don't start out with people are bad. And then what happens then is that all of a sudden somebody does something and somebody else does something, and then you scramble to put patches in place to prevent people from being bad. But since you didn't plan it from the very beginning to have those patches in place, you get thrown for a loop, and the programming doesn't necessarily work the way it's supposed to. I find something similar with Microsoft. So, Microsoft tests their software so much. Good morning, Brent. I'm sorry to hear that, my friend. You're here now. You're in the duck pond. Wait a little. Let all of those things roll off your duck back. And forget about the duck update. I'm having. Yeah. So I see Microsoft make this mistake a lot, and I've noticed it. And that is, they test their software so much that they absolutely cannot fathom any more errors. They think it's solid and waterproof. And so once they release it into the wild, they're not quite sure what to do when they end up with an error that can't be fixed. And they presume, especially since a lot of the errors will be duplicates of errors that they ran into during bug testing. So they'll run into these errors, and it's these errors that occur, and they'll be like, I don't know. I mean, you'll say, hey, I've run into this error, and they'll be like, that can't be, you obviously have made a mistake. And you'll be like, no. It's an actual error. And I mean, as Brent will tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's because that's the feeling that happens, but they really do. There is actually some seriously rigorous testing going on in their software. So, anyway, something I have noticed is there's a lot of it's the same thing with Facebook. Facebook was built so that you and I could talk to each other. Nobody, when they built Facebook, had any freaking clue. Yeah, I mean, I guess Brent's right. The truth is, though, that nobody just writes a bunch of code and then just hits send to the universe. Update the patch. They test it and they make sure it works. But Brent's right. There's so many hardware configurations and possible ways to get everything configured that it's impossible to get all of them to work. Yeah. You probably have an outlier on the configuration. That's probably what's going on. And I mean, generally speaking, I do okay over here on updates and stuff. Knock on wood. Why do I feel like her head is just too small? Like her hair is too small or something. I feel like she had more hair in this picture. I'm sure. I mean, and this wasn't supposed to be necessarily a discussion about Microsoft. It was supposed to be something I have noticed and observed, which is people by sort of a default don't anticipate things, or they over anticipate. So, it's like either they don't plan on it having an effect, and then they're shocked that it has an effect, or they over plan for it to have an effect and the system is completely unusable. And this is social media. I don't know how in the world they expect to get along if we can't. I mean, it's the world of memes. Everything's a meme now, right? How in the world do they expect us to operate if we cannot quote movies? And saying something is very straightforward as aliens quoting, or you're quoting, nucleosite from orbit, it's the only way to be sure, which is literally a quote from a famous movie. And not only that, appropriate here. I mean, it was absolutely appropriate. The bad guys in this particular image are massive spiders. You're not being mean to any hate group. It's not like you're talking about nuking. Um, yeah, it's the presumption of evil. Biggest problem we've got is there's 8.6 billion social media posts on Meta per day. Per day. So that's one media post for every human being on this planet every day. Now, some of those are posts like I post, where I post to both Instagram and Facebook. So I count as two. Some people post like 16 times a day because they're spazzes. So it's not like every human on the planet does actually post every day. However, there's no way for a human being to actually vet all of the posts being made. But it's still, it's one post for every human being on this planet. If every human being actually posted, there's still no way for, it's maybe not 8.4 billion, it might be 840 million, but either way, it doesn't matter. I did the math somewhere along the line because somebody had said something, and I actually went and looked it all up and got all the information and did the math. And what it really boiled down to was it would take every single Facebook employee at the time to do an 18-hour day where they looked at each post, had to be looked at for, and they could spend no more than a little over 1.1 seconds on each post. And this includes Zuckerberg. He'd have to spend an 18-hour day every day. So not more than one, and they could never take a lunch break, and they could never go to the bathroom. So, I mean, if you did that, you could cover every post that's made every day. And so the biggest problem is, of course, what you end up with is what you've got, which is some automated system is just looking for nuke and then nailing it. And you have to go then protest it. Well, since it's hitting every word that says nuke and everything like that, and people are protesting it, they're actually now ending up with hundreds of thousands of protests a day. So now you have even more problems, which is there's simply not enough people. So I need to move her eyes over even more. Simply not enough people to do the job. If I were to ever say, what could we use AI for? This would be it. Anticipating whether people intend harm or not. I am sure there is 1% or less than 1% of us that are harmful. It's actually probably about 0.5%. It's a dysfunction. We're dysfunction. We dysfunction out, and our response to bad stimuli is to hurt other people. But it's a very small percentage of us. I mean, statistically, it's not even a blip. The rest of us who cause harm, trolls, things like that, are responding to bad stimulus that was promoted early on in their lives. Either someone abused them or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's all that's happening here is you just tripped her eyes are not big. I will now increase her eyes and then regret my life choices. Behold, as I regret my life choices. Now regretting my life choices. Much better. Yeah, it has a zero tolerance policy and cannot detect nuance. I think it's funny and frankly kind of ironic that our social media is exemplifying a problem with people in general, which is presumption of evil when it doesn't actually exist. But society in general does that a lot. We presume evil when there's no evil. And then we respond. Accordingly. Like, for example, how when I tell people that I let my child walk to school every day, there's this, you do? What if he gets kidnapped? What are the odds? I mean, could it happen? Absolutely. Would I feel horrible if it did? Sure. But the odds are so low that it's better for him to learn to walk and learn to interact with the environment. And besides, he kind of likes having time to be alone with his thoughts. He needs that. So, yeah, you can't judge intent. Yeah, it's a thing where I'm like, hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It is an issue that we have to deal with all the time. But moreover, it's safer today out there than it was in the 80s when I was literally walking the exact same streets. I mean, this is the same exact neighborhood I grew up in. And I walked these streets in junior high as well. And so, like, literally, they can they can bite me. It's safer now than it was when I was out there. I bring that up all the time, and these people are transplants, so a lot of times it's really, yes, I grew up in this neighborhood. It was pretty. It wasn't rough. We just didn't know. You know? Nobody knew because it wasn't on the news all the time. It's one of the things that um, Bregman's talking about in his book is it's called a negativity bias and an availability bias. And the negativity bias means that you are more likely to remember things that are negative than you are that are positive. And that's, as he was saying, it's a built-in safeguard because it is probably better for us to believe that the snake is going to kill us than to believe that it's cute and fluffy and probably won't. So it's a better bet. So we're designed by default to be suspicious, and that's fine. He said, but then there's the availability bias, which is we're able to override that, provided that you can give some logical reason, right? If I were to say to you that in the last 6 months, there has been, or even let's say the last 6 years, this neighborhood has seen exactly one break in 6 years, then you're going to say this neighborhood's relatively safe. But if I expand that to all of Colorado and say there have been 4,600,000,000 or whatever is the number, you're going to feel like Colorado's not very safe. Even if you expand just to Arvada and cover just this city, we're a northwestern suburb and pretty calm with very little going on. And if you extend out, though, I mean, I watched the Arvada police blotter. There's a lot of things out there going on with people and angry and stuff and things. But we had, as a great example of this, last week there was an incident on I-70 where somebody in a car at I-70 near about Ward Road pulled out a gun and fired at a semi driver, and the semi driver was wounded but not killed. He was just shot a couple of times, but he made it off the road and parked his rig and called 911 and everything like that. And the people who were involved are caught on video and stuff like this. But reading through the comments on this, because this is part of Wheat Ridge Police, and I follow Wheat Ridge Police too. I follow all the police, by the way, because it's actually kind of nice to follow the actual, strangely, the social media pages of all these police, because most of their stuff is, hey, look, these people brought us Starbucks. It's like, those are great things to hear. The cops are having just a normal day, But I started following them because they were like, remember, guys, it's winter weather and you need to follow these 6 rules. And I'm like, crap, I need to add those 6 rules to my curriculum. That's really what I started following them for. But anyway, this incident happened and everybody in the posts was doing oh man, the world's coming. What's this world coming to? I mean, people getting shot on the freeway, and yeah, we were just such a dump, and da 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 da. And I'm like, actually, we were just fine. Like, it's got a couple of neighborhoods that I probably wouldn't get caught dead in, but what area doesn't? I mean, Arvada does, Denver does, Oh, the news is so totally ADD in nature. But I mean, that's one of the reasons what I love doing that. I love looking around and seeing all of this wonderful stuff that they talk about. They were a couple of days ago, Wheat Ridge News decided, or Wheat Ridge Police Department decided to highlight a couple of their officers because they were cool people. It's like no real reason for it. It wasn't like they needed to, but they did, and I thought that was cool. And I'm like, oh, nice. And we have a lot of problems with our culture specifically right now is having problems with the police because many police officers, not just some, are abusing their power. And the biggest problem we're having is that the police themselves, for a long time, were not responding to that. They weren't fixing it. But now I'm starting to see police groups are being taken over, if you will, by police chiefs who are determined to finally fix this problem. And they're getting in there, and bad apples are getting kicked out, and things like that. But that's not making the news. They are fixing the problem, but it's not making the news. And that is an issue. And that was what Bregman's talking about. And he's talking about the fact that, like he was talking about a situation that occurred in the Bronx in 1960 something, 1962, 63, something like that. And it became a watershed element for psychology for years. People were using it. And what had happened was a young lady was coming back to her apartment in the Bronx, and this is, remember, 60s, so that's an important thing to remember for this story. She's coming back to her apartment in the Bronx, and a man showed up and stabbed her, and she screamed. She screamed for help, and nobody helped her. And in the end, she died on the stoop of her apartment complex. She bled to death. Well, nobody did anything. And even apparently somebody pulled up a chair in their apartment to watch the situation go down. And it became national news. People in Japan were hearing about it. And it became sort of part of our pastime as far as people were concerned. Americans were known now for being cruel, right? And everything like that. Bregman went back and researched it. He went back over all of the details and the stories and everything like that. You ready for this, Bob? Because you clearly are familiar with the story. He went back and pulled all the records. He pulled every police report. He pulled all the news reports. He pulled the interviews with everybody in the neighborhood. And what he found was this. One, only 2 people were actually woken up by the woman because it was winter and everybody's windows were closed. So only 2 people actually responded. And both of them called the police. No, that's not true. 2 people actually responded. 4 people called the police. That's it. 4 people called the police. But the first person that called said, there is a drunk woman outside screaming. And then all of the other calls that went into the police, they said, we already have this call under control. We know about it. So the other 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, whoever called the police, they all got, the police responded by saying, we've heard about this. We're on it. effectively. But then the police dispatched a police cruiser thinking it was a drunk woman. So they did their other jobs first because a drunk woman's low on the priority list, right? That was the first mistake that was made. The second mistake was that the media only interviewed two people. And the two people that they interviewed, one of them was homosexual. So he was the one who they widely quoted because he was like, I just didn't want to rock the boat. And what he meant was, I didn't want people to find out I was a homosexual and kill me because 1964, right? And so when Bregman went back through all of these reports, they found out that she, the woman, was living with a woman and they were lovers. And that wasn't reported because if that was, it would have been a homosexual relationship, and that was forbidden in 1964. In the end, the only thing that the news reporters came up with was that this one guy said, I just didn't want to get involved. And that's what they quoted. In reality, the neighbor, her neighbor, immediately heard her screaming, grabbed her nightrobe and everything and her husband, and they went downstairs and got her and brought her inside the building where she died in the woman's arms, in the next door neighbor's arms, while the next door neighbor was trying desperately to stop the bleeding. That wasn't reported. Nobody said anything about that. Nobody talked about it. Moreover, 2 weeks later, one of the neighbors in that same neighborhood block observed somebody pulling a TV out of an apartment and said, hey, that looks like, Joe Smith's apartment or whatever. Is Joe Smith supposed to be moving? So he went out and confronted the guy, and the guy was like, oh, I'm just moving. And he was like, is Joe Smith supposed to be moving? And all of the neighbors were like, no, Joe Smith is not moving. So the guy popped his tires so that the guy couldn't, the neighbor popped the tires so the guy couldn't leave and held him until the police got there. When the police got there, they found out that this guy had robbed 5 places and was responsible for the murder of the woman because she had caught him in the middle of trying to rob a place. So he went to jail and ultimately went to jail for life for murdering her. But that part's not reported. All of that story has been used over and over and over, and in fact generated what we call the bystander effect, which actually, he says, is all bunk because everybody in that story did their job. They called the police, they tried to help, they were downstairs pulling her in, they were trying to tend to her wounds, they were trying to get the ambulance there. All the people were trying to do stuff, but that didn't make a good story. So the only person that was quoted in the newspapers was the gay guy who didn't want to be outed because he was gay. And he would be hung because that's the way you do that back then. And it's fascinating, every story he's got in there, from the Stanford prison experiment to this particular experiment to all of the stories, everything. Hurricane Katrina, 9/11, he's even going through right now and talking about how SS soldiers were having problems dealing with their instructions because it was against their nature. They had to be convinced. They had to be convinced a lot in order to kill off the Jews. And it was amazing. Every story. And this guy has, I'm not kidding, he pulled up everything. He pulls up coroner reports. He pulls up police reports. He pulls up every article that was written. Because even in that instance in the Bronx, that Bronx incident had like 6 or 7 news reports. It's just that only one of them led. The other ones didn't. Our society is constipated. This book is an eye opener because this guy has gone. I mean, legitimately, he could theoretically be lying. I mean, I guess. But he spent the last like 10 to 15 years traveling the world. I mean, he's been digging through musky filing cabinets to get stuff. Just astonishing. And the amount of how we believe these things, and it has become in our zeitgeist that people are this way, and in reality they just aren't. People just aren't. And I'm amazed by this. Right? Watch my show, you mean? One of these days you'll be able to sit down and watch my show? It's all right, Brett. You know I'm here. And legitimately, I'm not talking about anything that I don't always talk about. Pretty much the same thing. We don't suck as bad as people think we do. It's my ongoing statement in the world. I think the funniest part about this whole thing is when I was a kid, my mom used to have a saying, which is most of the people most of the time are doing the very best they can. Right? My mom used to have a saying that said, most of the people most of the time are doing the very best that they can. And it's funny, there was a moment. My dad used to always say everything was relative, right? These were their sayings that they would impose upon me, so to speak, so that I would, trying to get me to think, as you might imagine. Problem with this one, aren't I? This. There we go. And one day I was sitting there in the living room and I was talking to Mom, and I was like, someday when we're old, I'm going to always remember everything is relative. That'll be the phrase that I remember forever from Dad. And Mom was kind of taken aback and she was kind of sad. And she was like, oh, wait a minute. What about my phrase? And I'm like, I've forgotten. What's your phrase? And she was like, really? And she was so offended, and rightfully so. And then she was like, my phrase, most of the people most of the time are doing the very best that they can. And I was like, yeah, oh yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm, sure, yeah. And in my head, I remember thinking, though that's good, it's not as good as everything is relative. And now, here I am, same age as my mom when she was saying this to me. Looking back and going, she was right. Everything is relative is great. But the truth is, a philosophy in life that I have is born out of Mom's phrase. And I wish she had lived long enough for me to tell her that, because she was pretty put out by that. She was not happy because I was an idiot. Said with love, I was a lovable idiot. You don't need to crack the whip. I'm working. I've been working this whole time. Still working. Nope. So, anyway. Still find that sad but funny. You know, you have those moments where you're like, ah, sad but funny. Sorry, Mom. I would loathe to say this as a teenager. As an adult, you were right, Mom. You were totally right. Faster, cheaper. No. What you need to do, Cayen, is get your butt in here and be faster and cheaper as well. And taunt my butt. Hey, you get on your case for it. The problem with Cayen is that he's a slowpoke and he produces very slow work. And it takes him forever to do stuff. That's his problem, you know. Just saying, that's his problem, man. Just such a slowpoke. Produces almost no work. So slow. You're currently in a Waffle House. Didn't we just discuss the Waffle House? I thought you said that it was like sketchy. Oh man, that's funny. Now I'm gonna get you busted though because that was said out loud. That's even funnier. That's funny. Oh man, I tell you, it's I think I'm having more fun right now. Just tormenting. It's true. You only inked 3 pages yesterday. Slacker. Such a slacker. I don't even know why we're friends. You're so slow. You know, nobody knows who you are. This could sound so horrible. Like, what are you saying to your friend? Oh no. Why are you so mean to your friend? Oh man, that's funny. All right. I think I'm pretty happy with that inking. That inking looks solid to me. And horrifying. Very Scooby Gang. It's like, you're so mean to your friend Cayen. Like, yeah, that's me. I'm mean and cruel to my friend Cayen. Oh boy, I am entertained. I am so entertained. You hardly produce anything. Such a slacker. It's funny because, I mean, we were talking last night about all these things, and the reality is, I feel pretty comfortable with my speed. I mean, that was the important thing, was finding out that Cat takes 12 or 6 to 12 hours per page. Very, very useful. It means that I've got room to grow, and I've got room to expand into that, and that's good, and I like that. It makes me feel better. But it is funny that, you know, I want to be extremely clear. I don't want to be as fast as Kate. I really, really, really do not. I'm totally okay with Cayen being as fast as Cayen, and all of us just marveling over the speed that he runs at. But I have no interest in being that fast. I am humor otherwise for discussion. Yeah. Getting- Right? You just sit around all day, you lazy bum, doing nothing. That's you. Such a lazy bum. Choose a different color. What else did I probably should have at some point? Too late. Poor Billy discovers that his pinata costume was a bad idea. No, 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 no. I cannot use that color. Use this color. But why? Yeah, this color is too dark. I can use it for highlights like this. I can't use it for the actual color itself. She just vanishes against that window. Arg. Yes, I've got this under control. We are totally under control. That's not what I want to do. I like the idea of that color-ish. I am. I'm always chatting a lot. That's why you're here. Imagine if I didn't say anything. It's well bored. Now these like these shoulder pads can work just fine outside. A lot of talking dogs out there. But what to say? Also, what? The last picture that I just took of you. Because we need this skin tone. Totally could be Fred and Daphne. Totally. It's totally who they are. Yeah, two like normal Scooby Doo gang people here. Problem is figuring out who these two are. No. No, sorry. There we go. She's much more vegetable than that. Mm-mm. That's not gonna work like you think it will. As well as Billy. Looking at you, Billy. What were you thinking? Okay. Nope. So we want that to definitely be clear. I also feel like we may have made an unfortunate mistake. With Billy, and I think I might want to go in and put some extra spider web threads on him because he kind of looks like he actually has been hanged. I'm not sure I'm hot on that. You know what I mean? I don't think that was what we were after to begin with. So let's go ahead and put in some extra spider webs. So it's pretty clear he wasn't hanged, because that could have been unpleasant. gives the absolute wrong impression of things. Really don't want that impression. A different kind of story for Billy. And now I realize it, yes. Well, originally it wasn't unclear because we were pulled back, but then I pulled a little bit further forward and to tighten this up. And when I did, I realized what we've got going on over here. And I was like, oh, yeah, we should fix that. For Billy. For Billy. Our best bet, I believe, is to go in here and hit this, this. So, there's both holes. Then we can take this and just pick a neutral-ish color at this point and just do that. Right? And that'll clear that zone pretty good to give us at least some darkness in here to indicate that this is a darker zone. It's not one of my defaults either to, I mean, on the same token of what we've been talking about here. Not in my nature necessarily to assume, hey, you know? Now we can do things. This. Oh, and blue. Don't go blue. Don't go blue. I didn't ask you to go. And then a dark shadow fell upon Billy. Alas, poor Billy. Poor And this will help us highlight him. Dang it. Come on, hey, you know how to color. You know how to color inside the lines. It's very weird when Mariah sets off the rainbow downstairs because there's somebody rumbling around downstairs in my head. I can hear them. Dang it. It's a happy little shadow. And all I want to do was hang out with everybody. All right. Here we are. Initial flat seems to be relatively okay. I'm going to leave pretty much the background wide open so that There's nothing really back there but white, because I really want the white to isolate our heroes. So I believe firmly if this is some indication of what the next book is, you know what that means. It's foreshadowing. Alrighty. We've completed now the flats on this. Actually, I think what I will do is let all of this kind of go down, snip it down a couple of layers. So we have all the flats on one layer. Allows me to do that. Good. No. Who's your favorite communist leader? Yeah. There is, I say, pull all of the things. Make the pixels. Hi, I'll get a cat butt. That's what I get. Cat butt. Yep, no show is complete without a visit from the cat butt. Oh, now the show is complete because we've had cat butt. You're the cat butt. You're always a cat butt. Look at you being a cat butt. You know. Right? You have to rhyme to save the show. Did you know you have to save the show? Did you know that was your job? Weirdo. Weird little guy. George is who George is. And will always be. In my super scary lion panther thing, he thinks he's a panther. All right. We're going to do something here with this. You're really a pest. You know that, right? Your butt is in the way. But there we go. That's much better. There. Oh, you didn't see enough butt. Yes, it is, Ron. This is illustration 9. This is illustration 9, and we are on our way. Well, this is illustration 9 and George. Welcome to George's world. Yep. So there you go, Ron. We got illustration 9 on its way, and I have a cat in the way as well. As much as I love my cat, I've got to get to work. But yes, so we are here. I'm pretty pleased with this. This looks. We've got the kid up there. We've got all of these guys here. I think we're doing good. Duplicate this layer. Right. Test to see how well we've got that blacked out. Oh, good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. really love you, but we've got to get work done. So you've got to let me get work done. I know you want stretches. I understand that. If you're not going to let me do this, I'm going to hold you like a baby, just so you know. So I'm going to take, yeah, right? I'm going to take this and we're going to duplicate it because I don't want to mess this up, right? And we're going to then take this filter. We're going to take a Gaussian blur to it. This is the first thing we're going to do. Take a Gaussian blur to it. You can see how much it's going to make it do that. I think it's kind of cool because the lighting is there, but I actually really want it to expand out. That's good, but that's not what I'm doing. So I need this to glow more. So we're going to take and select it like this. And then I'm going to add some outline selection to it. But first, I need to make sure that we're set for white. Outline selection. We're going to go on the inside because we've selected it the other direction, but we don't actually do that. Shift I, and that flips that inverts my selection. So Control Shift I is the shortcut to invert selection. Then we're going to go in here. We're going to say outline selection. We're going to draw on the outside. We're going to do about 50 pixels. Okay. It's going to give us this effect, which went the wrong direction. So let's do it the other way. So we'll outline selection on the inside. I guess it still thinks that that's the inside. So me. Outline selection. So maybe I can do Control Shift I and go the other direction. Fine. We're just going to be weird. Outline selection. All right. And it's given a lot more than I rate. Human to scritch ratio is too low. So we're going to go through here and do this. Then we're going to have to clean this up, which is fine. What I'm doing here is I'm just zorching the outside here. Now I can take this, which if we were to put on top of everything, it's like that, right? But now I can take this and I can run a Gaussian blur on it. Okay. Now we take this and put it in here, and you see what we've got, right? With that added in, now what we've got is what looks like sunlight coming through these corners here and lighting stuff up. So we get kind of a very humanistic glow coming up from behind it, like a very not star, but a bright glow. view anymore for this. And then I'm going to go here, give myself another layer. I'm going to hit overlay. And this is my white layer. And then we're going to go here, hit multiply. My shadows layer. I want to start with white because the light is dictating where our light is coming from. So I really want to illustrate where the light's coming from. So we're going to come in here and do this. Along this edge. So nope. Now we'll get in here. Sign it over here. We've got highlight illumination on the right. This is where the majority of our lighting is from. So we want to really get in here tight with it. So is it screen or is it overlay? I can't get it. It's overlay. This right here. Just kind of trying to hit highlights along the body. So we're gonna hit like the knuckles. That makes some sense right through here. Hitting this part right there. Come along this side. You're not going to see a lot of what's going on this side because of the fact that it's just simply not. It's not illuminated. But this is. Right. Here. Bring this up and around, just highlighting this kind of thing right here. There we go. And we're just on this side. Here. The problem is the light is directly behind these guys, which means that really we already have sort of their highlight going on here, right? We don't need to highlight too much along this side anyway because it's already highlighted or lit or highlighted or something. So we just need to be kind of just this little bit here to kind of give just a hint something going on around this corner. Right? even a little right here, just a minute. But if we're not careful over here, this ends up being looking like it's glossy, and it's not glossy. Like it has no gloss to it. So what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with a shadow that's extremely prominent here, which will make some sense, right? So I'm just going to do this. It looks like it's got some texture to it, and just to take care of operational texture like that. Okay. We go in here, then we do the opposite. We do the multiply for the shadows. This is going to be where we get good at. Really, in here, we've got kind of this super dramatic shadow system going on here. Yeah. Now see, I can pull this back if I want. Usually I do those shadows at about 30, but I might be meaning to be more dramatic at this point. We'll have to see. No, don't move. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate that. And this shadow work is probably what's going to end up kicking us into tonight's show before this thing's done. We're going to go in here and clean up all this shadow work. It looks cool, but we're going to have to definitely police it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I don't know if I deserve it, but I appreciate it. Anyway, it's all good. I'm being intentionally sketchy out here on Billy. Ron, we have decided this is Billy. We just made that arbitrary decision. We have no logical reason behind that, but it's Billy. And it's mostly because this is one of the most disturbing things that I've done in a while. I'm not really a horror drawer artist. I don't do really horror that much, so this is kind of it's somewhat horrific, and as you probably can guess, which is exactly what she's after. So I'm hoping I'm expressing the horror of this scene appropriately. Right? No reason. His name's just Billy. We decided it. It's been decided. I love working with Nancy. She is cool. Adding these gossamer threads so that they are clear when we're looking at And because this guy's a sulky, I am actually making his skin specifically glossy. As you might have guessed, I actually had to go look up Selkie and figure out what they look like. I didn't actually know. It's a mythology that I never really studied, so I was fascinated by it. Because, clearly in the post-apocalyptic world, you can always guarantee you will find good conditioner. Oh, yes, do review. Very important when you're in a post-apocalyptic world to find good conditioner for your hair. You've heard it here from me first. Come in here and just give a little bit of highlight right to the top of her knuckles. There. Even though it's going to slightly diminish where that line is, I'm okay with that. I also think her jacket looks like this. Just because she's got a black line on the back of that. I will see you Saturday morning. Actually, at this point, Ron, we are heading straight for being there Saturday. And we can discuss what we're going to do about the cover. Good luck on your writing, and I will see you on Saturday, Captain Ron. Have a good day, my friend. Captain Ron. There we go. And my problem is I'm loath to go in here with the shadows onto her face, but it won't look right if I don't. So here we go. And move on. It is nice of Bob to drop by. So the ear tends to have what we call subsurface scattering. And that means that it's thin enough the light passes through it, and then we get sort of an illumination point from one side of it because the light's passing somewhat through it. So we call it subsurface scattering. Let's hope that doesn't color the whole thing. It does. Undo. Where's the leak? then I can just do this thing. You've just decided that oh, you know what? Apply to connected pixels needs to be turned on or it won't work right. Just saying. Four minutes left. Understand that I'm going to be coming back in with the eraser. Cartilage is doing something like this, right? And that makes this work a whole lot better. See, because I can bring that back and it just looks like she's just got that base shadow going for her. There. We'll do the same thing on this side. Right? That looks actually pretty solid. Not going to complain about that too terrible much. I feel a little bit less solid about what we did over here on Aletta, so we'll have to come back on her and fix it at some point. But we are 3 minutes from the end of tonight or today's show, so we'll have to come back in on this tonight and we'll finish it. It'll be finished tonight. This is far more than close to done. Right, and so this is right up on very close to done. And yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of fun shadowing when we get over onto whatever his name is. He's only Jordan. He's only been the main character of this story since literally page like 6. No, page 1. Page 1 of the very first book. He's been the main character. But I'm pretty pleased with where we are. This looks great. We're moving along just fine. I was a little concerned at first that it was not tight enough, but it is tight enough and is fine. So I like the way that this is rolling out with the glow. It comes in from the outside. It looks good. I may put a glow to the right side as well. And I really like, what I like about this piece is going from right to left, you're looking to the right where there's a lot of glow and light, and then you look to the left where the darkness is, and that's where Billy is, right? So we've got this direction where it's pulling the eye across the light to Billy, and that gives it's a compositional design that's turning out like I wanted it to. I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to be able to pull that off, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I think we're doing great. So I'm going to go on ahead and switch us back to main camera. And George is over here. You can't see him because he's right here. Or you can see like one ear. That's his ear. Right? This is his other ear. And that's his nose. This is his nose. His little floofy nose. I don't know. He was doing the thing, so I was like, well, here's your nose. Here's your nose. Get your nose. You're a weird little cat. All right, guys. So that's it for today. We are out. I want to thank Ron for showing up a little bit today because that was awesome. And I always encourage, if you've got a commission out with me, I always encourage you guys to join my stream, and that's anytime, because if you need a change, better to tell me while we're in work rather than once it's all cooked. Because once it's baked, we're in trouble. So I like it better to be, kind of led to the correct location when we get to that spot. So other than that, I think we are out, and I will see you tonight. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars.